Have you ever felt like an imposter? Terrified that if people knew the real you, the you behind the curated profile and the confident smile, they'd run? Or have you ever heard that quiet, persuasive voice in your head, the one telling you to just take the easy way out, that the struggle isn't worth it? For centuries, the story of Jesus in the desert has been presented as a tale of divine perfection, a being untouchable by the doubts and desires that haunt the rest of us. But what if that's not the whole story? What if it's actually one of the most honest and practical guides ever written for confronting our own inner demons, our ambition, our self-doubt, and our deep desire for a life without struggle? What if it's a roadmap for becoming fully, authentically human? Before we can understand the desert, we have to understand our own version of it. The modern desert isn't a landscape of sand and rock. It's a psychological space. It's that period after graduation when the path disappears. It's the loneliness of a new city, the quiet hum of a job that pays the bills but starves the soul. It's the space where the relentless pressure to build a perfect online self, the polished, successful mask we show the world, feels most at odds with the anxious, uncertain person we are behind the screen. This is the desert of the imposter, where we are caught between the person we pretend to be and the person we fear we actually are. It's in this state of anxiety and pressure that we meet the biblical story. It begins not in a moment of despair, but in a moment of profound validation. Jesus has just been baptized, and a voice from heaven has declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." He knows who he is. He has his mission. And it is at that exact moment, the moment of greatest clarity, that he is led into the desert to be tested. This is a deep psychological truth. It is often right after our greatest breakthroughs, right when we commit to a new path, that the voices of doubt and temptation become the loudest. For 40 days, he fasts. He strips away every distraction, every comfort. And in this raw, vulnerable state, a figure appears. The story calls him the devil. The psychologist Carl Jung would call him the shadow. The shadow is not a horned, red-tailed monster. It is a part of all of us. It's the dark side of our personality, the repository for all the things we've been taught to repress or deny about ourselves. Our greed, our arrogance, our resentments, our lust for power. It's not purely evil. It contains immense energy and even undeveloped potential. But when left unacknowledged, it projects itself outward, or it whispers to us in the voice of our most cunning, self-serving ego. The desert, in this sense, is the sacred space of individuation, the place we must go to finally turn and face our own shadow. And so the negotiation begins. The first temptation is one of physical need. The shadow looks at the starving man and says, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become bread." It's a reasonable suggestion. It's practical. In our world, this is the voice of pure materialism. It's the shadow saying, "Just focus on survival and comfort. Take the safe job, even if it crushes your spirit. Your worth comes from what you have, from the security you build." It's the temptation to solve the immediate, external problem, the hunger, to avoid the much harder internal work of figuring out who we are when we have nothing. Jesus' response is telling. Man shall not live by bread alone. He acknowledges the hunger, but refuses to make it the ultimate meaning of his existence. The second temptation is more subtle, and far more familiar to a generation raised on public validation. The shadow takes him to the highest point of the temple and says, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands." This is the temptation of the grand gesture, of spiritual grandiosity. It's the allure of going viral. It's the shadow whispering, "Prove your worth. Do something spectacular. Get everyone to see how special you are. Your worth comes from being admired. It is a direct appeal to the ego, to the part of us that wants to be seen as extraordinary without having to do the slow, unglamorous work. It is the temptation to build our identity not on inner substance, but on the applause of others. Jesus' refusal is a refusal of the shortcut, a refusal to perform his identity for the validation of the crowd. Finally, the shadow makes its ultimate offer. It shows him all the kingdoms of the world in their splendor. All this I will give you, it says, if you will bow down and worship me. This is the temptation of power and compromise. This is the sellout. It's the shadow's final, most potent argument. Abandon your values for power, for influence, for control. Everyone else does. This is how the world really works. Your worth comes from the power you wield. Here, the shadow asks for everything. It asks the ego to completely sever its connection to the authentic self. That core of our being that is oriented toward meaning and wholeness, in exchange for total worldly domination. And it is here that the wrestling match ends. Away from me, Satan, Jesus declares, choosing integrity over influence, purpose over power. The story isn't about being a superhero who is immune to temptation. It is about being a whole person who has learned to recognize the face of their own shadow. The demonic voices in our heads are not random. They are the predictable, universal temptations that arise when we dare to step onto a path of purpose. They are the voices of materialism, of validation seeking, of power-hungry compromise. The real question, then, is not how to silence these voices, but how to answer them. So, look at your own life. What stones are you being tempted to turn into bread? Where are you prioritizing the illusion of security over the nourishment of your soul? From what temple are you tempted to leap for validation? What grand gesture are you secretly hoping will finally prove your worth to the world? And what kingdom is being offered to you right now? What is the price of admission? And is it a price your authentic self is willing to pay? Your greatest strength isn't found in what you can acquire, prove, or control. It is forged in the fire of what you have the courage to refuse. Your time in the desert, your moments of doubt, loneliness, and struggle are not signs of failure. They are the sacred, necessary crucibles where your true character is formed. This is how you move beyond the fear of being an impostor and find a purpose that cannot be shaken by the winds of the world. Because the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be whole.